Yeah, good evening. Yeah, it's really nice to see you all here. And here I'm going to talk about, my slide title says the cross-device development with the web standards. So basically, here I'm going to talk about, how to create your web responsibly using web standards. And also I'm going to talk about emerging web standards, which means, the things might or might not work or might not be supported or implemented in browsers yet. So I'm going to just talk about something super new too. Okay. So again, my name is Tomomi Imura. And probably I'm better known as a girly Mac on Twitter and social media. And I'm a front-end engineer. And I'm a total mobile geek, so I've been working in the mobile industry quite a while. So current job is at Nokia. I'm, an HTML5 Evangelist and advocate in open web there. And then previously, I've been working at Palm. I was a developer for the WebOS platform. And also, before that, I was at Yahoo. I was at the Yahoo Mobile, and I helped to ship a lot of, the mobile webs there. So the one web approach. So when I'm talking about a responsive web design, you might think it's a sort of new concept, right? Well, it's been around for a few years already, but still, it sounded kind of new. But the thing is, this quote here, it's written in W3C page, and it was written back in 2008. So here's what it's saying. One web means making, as far as reasonable, the same information and services available to users, irrespective of the device they are using. So basically, it's saying don't discriminate your users. Don't discriminate your users. Well, doesn't matter which device they are on. But here it goes. So, however, it does not mean that exactly the same information is available in exactly the same representation across all devices. The context of mobile use and device capability variations, bandwidth issues, and mobile network capabilities all affect the representations. And furthermore, some services and information are more suitable for and targeted at a particular user context. So it really sounds like a common sense, actually. So again, basically we're saying just don't discriminate your users. Doesn't matter which devices they are using on to browse your web. So there's so many form factors these days. So currently, the market is almost saturated with mobile devices, which like just so many things here. So we got phones, and a phablet, and tablet. I don't like the name phablet, but anyway, phablet, tablet, and it's something in between. It's something like, that's a fuzzy zone. Tablet, laptop, I'm not sure. Surface Pro, that's probably a tablet. But you can still use like in an upright positions using a physical keyboard as well. So could be used as a laptop. And a Chromebook, netbook, laptop, whatever. And you have MacBook Pro, well, that's laptop, right? And a desktop. We have desktop here. So basically we have so many different kind of devices and screen sizes and such that we have to worry about, right? So the idea about, not to discriminate your users, we get this idea about adaptive design. It's been for a while. It's nothing new, really. So basically the idea about, adaptive design is that, to deliver the best possible user experience to the widest possible audiences. That's the whole idea. And you might agree, you might argue with me, but I believe the responsive design, the concept of a responsive design is actually a part of an adaptive design. So here's two big, things. Two big concepts about adaptive design. And the first one is the progressive enhancement. So, this is not new, right? We've been caring about, we developed the web to make it progressively enhanced all the time, I guess. Or I hope that's what you've been doing. And the other way around, another way to say is a graceful degradation when we're talking about like lesser capable devices. So basically, if you have a great browser, a good browser is capable of so many different features, you can give the enhanced experience. Other way around is make it gracefully decorate. So, for example, probably I can say CSS3 box shadow. So you can apply the box shadow to any element by using CSS3, right? But if you are viewing the same content on older browsers, you don't see shadows because those browsers don't support shadows. And that's a graceful degradation. Well, it's sort of graceful because it's okay for your users not to have shadows in certain content, certain element, because at least, your users can access the content just fine. We would say it's okay unless, it really hurts your design. But the thing is, the fallbacks, it's not always taken care of by browsers by itself. So let's say if you have a gradient, right? Like a CSS gradient on your background, like dark background and white color text, that's fine on the nice, the modern browsers. But when you are using old browsers, probably CSS3 gradients are not supported. So if you don't, provide feedback, not feedback, the fallbacks, the default solid color, by default, the browser's background is white and text is white, right? So the text is going to be invisible, so that's going to give a really bad, experience. So you have to make sure to give the fallback, as a default background solid color. In this case, like dark gray or black in a solid color. And things like this, you always have to make sure. And the responsive design, it's a relatively new concept. And we have three concepts. Three key components of responsive design is fluid layout and media queries and responsive images. The last responsive images been really like a hottest topic these days. So I'm going to cover those three in my slides now. Okay. So first thing I'm going to talk about is a fluid layout. It's a fluid layout new. So back in the time, I'm not sure how many of you have been developing a web for that long, but let's say like past in the .com era or whatever, we've been using table layout, right? But now we feel so guilty using table layout because table is not meant to be for layout, obviously. That's for data. So maybe after 2000 whatever, we get CSS. And we've been saying content and presentation layers had to be separated. So now we use CSS. And if you're developing web around 2003 or so, probably you've heard of something called Holy Grail column liquid design, right? So back in the time, so we used float. Maybe we still do actually, because it works. Float and negative margin. It's one of the tricks, right? You have some semantic markup, but you want to have a layout differently from the flow of the markup. So you use a negative margin to shift the content and looks different, make it look differently and such. It's really hassle. So I would say all the hacks and tricks we've been using is really pain, the totally pain in the ass. And maybe around 2005, 6, we get cool stuff like JavaScript UI frameworks, right? So Yahoo had this YUI grid layout, which still works perfectly. It's really nice. Then we got jQuery, right? Was it 2006-ish? And then jQuery was a huge deal because we could use so many different plugins. And we had a variety of UI-related plugins as well. And one of the, I would say I don't say most popular, but one of the popular plugin and the most abused plugin was Masonry. So that creates a grid layout, but it's more like a Pinterest look, UI. It's nice, but I don't like when everybody's using. But anyways. So now, in the future, we get CSS3 layout. So we get columns. It's a different type of columns, CSS3 columns. And columns, and flexbox, and regions, and grid. So I'm going to show some examples here. So this is a fluid column I call. So using CSS 3 columns. So that's the actual screenshot. So in a mobile, we get 1 column. Well, I say mobile, but when you have a small screen, you get only 1 column. And when you have a wider screen, you have 3. Actually, I can show the actual example. It's easier to explain. Can you see it? Maybe I'm going to start from narrow. So yeah, this is, let's say, okay, I'm going to just close this. So I set it as a column, the 200 CSS pixel here. And when you have a narrow window here, you get the 1 column, right? And then once the window size, window width get 200 pixel multiplied by 2 plus margin here and the column gap. It's usually about 1 but it depends on the browser unless you specified. So you get 2 columns. And the same thing, and so on and so forth. You get more columns as your browser windows get bigger. So this is really easy to do this with CSS3. All you have to do is just columns, 200 pixels here. But currently you need a vendor prefix here. And the column count auto means, like you just saw, it's automatically increase and decrease the number of columns. And this is by default, so you don't need to add it if you want in the auto. So browser support's pretty good, I would say. So they are all the supported browsers there. When you see the star, that means you still require the browser, the vendor prefix. And here's the 2 operas here. The reason is, originally Opera's rendering engine was a Presto. So 11.5, the version 11.5 was a Presto-based engine. And when, a while ago, they have announced to switch to WebKit rendering, right? And so Opera 14 is actually using the WebKit rendering engine, which is not available on desktop, maybe. I might be wrong, but it's available on mobile for sure. But after 15, so since Google have forked the WebKit to create their own Blink, right? The Blink rendering engine. So the Opera followed the Chrome team. So now the Opera 15 is a Blink-based. So basically, it works almost same as Chrome, I would say. So anyway, those browsers support it, so you can use now pretty much. Oh, and the IE10 too. So for mobile, I would say oldest IE for mobile is the IE9 for Windows 7. And the current browser is IE10 on the Windows 8. And now Windows 11, the Internet Explorer 11 is available, and it's not available on mobile yet, but it will be soon. So another example here is a Flexbox. So basically, it's a flexible layout to create it for, let's say, mobile and tablet or anything bigger. And just take a look at this section here, like a main section. For the larger screen, you got columns, right? But when you are in the mobile, well, just collapse up, or more like it just flow in the row instead. So you know what? It's kind of embarrassing to show this demo because I just figured out what's broken now, but anyway. So this is, wider screen, when you have a smaller screen. Yeah, the layout is a little broken, so I had to fix it. But you get the idea, right? So I've taken care of this with using media query here. So again, it's pretty simple. Well, Flexbox itself is kind of cumbersome, maybe requires some time for you to learn. But this particular example is super simple because, this is a default. So I make it mobile first, so this is mobile version. So Flex Flow row, first of all, display Flex, and then Flex Flow row. And when you have something larger than 640, or whatever the breakpoint you decide, you just give it a column. It's simpler than you think. And this is currently supported by those browsers here. It's getting there, you know. This is super new, so you know, not many browsers support it yet. And I didn't include Firefox here. Maybe I have to check it again, but I believe Firefox is still using the older specification of Flexbox. The thing is, the CSS3 Flexbox being around years, because I remember I was using in like 2010-ish. I don't remember, but sometimes around that, maybe 11. But at that time, you know, the specification was totally different. So it's been changing, you know. So I'm not sure if the one we have now is stable enough, but I hope it's not going to change anymore. It's been just changed too much. And of course, you probably can't see, but you should really take a look at the specification on W3C page. Actually, I advise to do so for everything I talk about today. Ooh, and another one, that's pretty cool, regions. So regions is another cool CSS3 stuff. It's super new, and currently it's only implemented on a few browsers. And this is, I think, Adobe is really pushing these days. Most of the good articles that I've seen online from Adobe these days. And you can use regions for responsive layout as well. Okay, I have a demo here. I have to use Safari. So this is Safari 7. Actually, I have this example in CodePen. I can just use it. Let me see. Maybe I can just use this. So basically, okay, let me see. So now you see the preview window here. So this is pretty narrow, right? So I would say emulate or sort of simulate the mobile window size. You see only one column, just nothing special, right? But once they get larger, you get column. Let me see. It doesn't go down more, but anyway, now you see the column there. I kind of wanted to make it a more complex layout for the demo too, but I didn't really do a good job, I guess. Anyway, those are screenshots. That's what you just saw. So yeah, here's what the region is. So with CSS regions, you know, you can define how the contents flow, just like a magazine layout. So my example was like maybe just something only 1, 2. I made some super simple layout like this, but you can just create like anything you want. And this is how it is. It's kind of strange because now, you know, you have empty divs here, right? You can use, probably might want to use a section instead. But basically, this is where the content flows. And the content itself is actually a separated place. So I have an article, class content, blah, blah, blah. So there's a content separately. And the way I made it responsive is, so content and region. Well, actually, I didn't make it mobile first for this case, but anyway. So flow into and flow from is what you need. An article, this is a name, like a namespace. You can name it anything you want. So basically, this content goes into this specified flow. And if I didn't I didn't include all the CSS for each region 1 and region 2, but you can define whatever you want. But this is for mobile. So when the browser window is small, you don't want those special, you know, layout, right? So just make it a flow into none and display none. So you don't even bother displaying this part. So this is how I did. And again, it's currently implemented only in Safari 7 and IE10. But my particular demo works only in Safari 7. Or it works on iOS 7 as well. But anyway, the demo works only in Safari because I have implemented these regions, but they have implemented slightly different. So that requires using iframe for the content. So I didn't bother adding iframe for this demo, so it doesn't work on IE. And another cool thing coming up is grids. So this is like responsive grid. So grid layouts, you can pretty much guess what grid is. So you can just define grid in the way you want. So this example, actually this is just a diagram, not even a screenshot. I mean the actual screenshots. But anyway, probably you can separate by orientation in this case, and portrait and landscape. So you can define a different layout here, right? And this is currently implemented only on IE10. But the specification have changed since the IE have implemented. So now, if you read the specification on W3C page, everything's totally different than the way Microsoft have handled. So I didn't actually make a demo for this. So, and next topic here is the media queries. So I believe most of you who's here today already have good idea about media queries. So I'm not going to talk about too much in detail. It's a huge topic itself, right? So I'm not going to talk too much in detail, but I'm going to just cover something interesting. Okay, so started from classic days again. I've been developing a web for a long time. So in the olden days, when I was developing for mobile for feature phones, we had a CSS actually 2.1, a media type called handheld. And this was the media type we used to use for mobile. And we can have specific CSS here. But the thing is, honestly, I didn't really use it because it didn't have great support. And well, anyways, so it was supported by Opera Mini, which was the most popular mobile browsers back in the time, and OpenWave, Obigo, and Pocket IE. They're considered to be legacy browsers these days. But so I'm not sure, I might be wrong, but the first time I ever noticed this handheld stopped working was when I first developed for a very original iPhone. So it looks like this is really not the popular choice for latest, latest trend, like on smartphones. So the iPhones, Androids, all those, the browsers for smartphones don't support it anymore. But now we get new and more improved, media queries for CSS3. So that's the way to go. So you can control your presentations, without modifying the content itself. It's actually funny because this is not super new, although this is CSS3. The idea itself has been there for a long time. I believe Opera first proposed. I'm not sure, I might be wrong though. But it was finally, came true as of CSS3. So now we can all use it. So quickly go through what we can do with media queries here. Okay, so this is condition UR and separating styles by the width of the target viewport. The target viewport, when I'm saying, is a browser display area, right? So min width, max width. But if you want to separate those styles by actual device, it's either higher the device itself rather than just that width of the browser. It's using min device width instead of just width. Or you can combine it with orientations as well. Oh yeah, and then you can use that as CSS3 too. It's calc. It's being supported in some browsers these days. It's pretty cool. I love this stuff. And another thing you can do is device pixel ratio. So that's getting really interesting topic these days. So I'm gonna, give more time talking about device pixel ratio here. So this is a diagram, right, for iPad 2 and 3, I think. I think I'm not really an iOS person. So basically, I'm just using this diagram because they're physically the same size, but twice as much the PPI. When I say PPI, it's just pixel per inch, so it's more pixels. So I'm going to talk about high pixel density displays a little bit more here. So again, I'm always talking about classic web development days. And a long time ago, I meant users, like when you're browsing the web and such. Well, in general, we had the CTR monitors with pretty low resolutions here, right? And at that time, we are making web pages like optimized for 800 by 6 pixels. So that was like old Yahoo page. But sometimes maybe, LCD screens get really in a good price, so we all upgraded to this thinner and nicer screens, a lighter screen. So when you were using, when you upgraded your screen, now like your, good old Yahoo page looks small, like shrunk. Not just shrunk, image and text and everything small. But it looks better. I mean, it looks crisp. But still, reading a small text is not really a great thing if this same thing happened to mobile phones. So here's the thing. So I'm using the example, it's iPhone 3 and 4 here. It's not even latest, but I'm just using because the same physical dimensions. But iPhone 4 has a Retina display. So here's a web page. Web page optimized for original iPhone size, 320 by 480. I love the onion. So when you try to fit this exactly 320, 480 into here, which has twice as much size, right? So you sort of expect to make it like here, display like this, but this is not what you get on iPhone 4. Why? Because the iPhone 4, the Retina displays automatically takes scale view. So basically, it zoom up this content to fit just like in the other older iPhone. So basically, now it's faking the pixel. Device pixel was double, right? But now it's faking the pixel size to 480 by 320. But we call it 480 CSS pixels height and 320 CSS pixels here. The reason is, so this is how I get. So now you get twice as much pixel here, so your web page looks super nice. But again, you still have for height-wise, 480 CSS pixels, but actually it's 960 device pixels, right? So here's a confusion. You get 2 pixels values. It's one is CSS, one's device. So that's really important here. So pixels in the CSS is relative, right? And one CSS pixel and one device pixel is not equal. Not always equal, I would say. It is equal in many devices, yes, but it's totally not equal when you're using Retina or any new devices. And you can get this value by using DOM. So window.device pixel ratio is how you get those value. So for Retina display, you get 2.0. But this depends on which browser and which the device you're using, of course. So the Nexus 1 was 1.5. And the Galaxy Nexus was 2. But even if you were using the Galaxy Nexus, but using Opera mobile browser, for whatever reasons, you get 2.25. And now, oh my gosh, you got 3. And the Galaxy S4 has 3. Oh my gosh, that's too many pixels, right? But here's one interesting thing. I don't want to confuse you too much by giving you too much information here, but there's something new I recently noticed. So when I'm talking about device pixel ratio, that sounds like it's really higher to a device itself, like it's attached, it's really comes with the device, right? So this machine here, the one I'm using, the MacBook Pro, is not the new one. So this is not the Retina display. So I expect the device pixel ratio is 1, and always 1. But I'm wrong. Well, when I'm using Firefox and the latest Chrome. So I can show it to you. So on a browser, you can change the zoom, right? So this is actually a screenshot came from Firefox. You can zoom in and out the content. So let's see. I have a Chrome 33 here. I really don't want to confuse you, but anyway. So I have CSS. And I'm just writing some CSS here. And depends on the device pixel ratio, you get the different cat picture. So this is one. Oh, you're going to see a lot of cat pictures in my presentation. I'm warning you. So this is one. Again, my MacBook Pro is not Retina. But see, so I'm pressing the Command Shift plus, because I'm using Mac. So making it's bigger. You can see over there. So it's, no, sorry. Okay. So device pixel ratio, okay, hold on a second. Okay, 125, 150, I had to refresh it. So now I have a zoom factor of 150%. And when I refresh this page, you get different KitKat, right? Because now that magically device pixel ratio turns to 1.5. This doesn't happen when you are using Chrome like 30 or older. So it's really new because I'm using the latest Chrome, which I think this one is 33. Let me see. No, I was wrong. It's 31, not 33. Yeah, I get the user agent printed here. Yeah, so this is actually the first Chrome browser. And Firefox browser has been always working this way. I never knew, really. This was like something so like nobody knew about it. So same thing, okay. Dip, dip. When you get a pixel ratio, yeah, you get 2. So now it's a 200% zoom, right? So I don't want to, I don't try to confuse you in all those, but it is still confusing for me because I'm not sure if that's, what we expect or not. So, that's something the browser vendor decide. And the Firefox guys and the Mozilla guys been doing this way. And I guess the Chrome guys just decide to, make it work just like Firefox. But other browsers don't do this. But I don't know how important it is, but it's good to know. So device pixel ratio, it's zoom dependent. But, okay, the thing is, this is not meant to be working for touch screens. So when let's say when you have Android phones, and then you try to, zoom by, the pinch zoom, right? This doesn't work. So pinch zoom, yeah. So this only works on desktop, I would say. I don't know exactly why, but a pinch zoom is not. Weird things. Okay, so back to the media query itself. So this is a media query to support Retina displays, right? So mean device pixel ratio 2. So if the pixel and the screen has a DPR, when I say DPR, it's device pixel ratio, and DPR more than 2, maybe do something else, right? And give it the different styles. But come on, so now the vendor prefix hell. So this is for WebKit, especially when you support 1.5, because some screens DPR is 1.5. This is for WebKit. And Mozilla has a different syntax here when you want to combine with min. That's weird. And this Opera is even weirder. I mean, this Opera is a Presto Opera, so this doesn't happen. And the latest Opera is a Blink-based, so that's a WebKit. So this is for old Opera. But anyways, I don't know if you can see this. But instead of 1.5, you have to give 3/2. This is actually disastrous, right? But you know what? Yeah, I find a way to just get rid of those craps. Using resolution. So this is not really something everybody knows yet. So you can totally use the resolution media query here. That's so much easier. But this is currently supported by those browsers, so the Safari doesn't like it yet. So you still have to keep that device pixel ratio 2 for Safari. Oh, and you might wonder why it's 192. Because a browsers are 96 DPI. That means 96 CSS pixels in 1 CSS inch. Weird, but it's CSS everything. The units are all CSS. So that's why, when you talk about 2, it just multiply by 2, so it's 192, right? And I don't know if you can really see, I made this IE icon a little dim because IE has a bug. I reported already. The IE that's supported, well, at least, feature detection lies sometimes. It's really annoying things for the web developers. Feature detection lies because IE say, yes, I support resolution, but it doesn't get the right value. So no matter what you use, IE always believe it's 96, so it's useless on IE. I hope they fix it for IE 11. And this is easier. So instead of using calculating DPIs, you can just use the DPPX. Those numbers are equal here, because this means basically it's DPR here. Bless you. This is supported by Chrome and Firefox only so far. There's another thing. So when we're talking about media queries, we think of CSS, right? It works with JavaScript too. So this is one of the new stuff, the match media. You can approach media queries in DOM. So it's like a media query is equivalent to query selector, kind of. So it's super new and cool. And it returns, this method returns a new media query list object. And a person result in specified media queries. So that's how you use. Oh, browsers support them already. You can use it now pretty much. So it's easy. That's how you do. So you can dump the whole media query strings in there. So again, this is kind of like a query selector. It's really convenient. So if it matches, do stuff. And other things, again, I don't want to confuse you too much with a lot of information, but there's so many new and cool stuffs coming. And this is the CSS Device Adaptation. So this is like a meta tag. I believe you already know that, but this is how you specify the content width. So when you browse in your web page on mobile phones, it doesn't look, shrinks down the content, it just fits right in device width. But many people think this is kind of strange to use, specified how it's rendered in viewport in the meta tag here. It's kind of strange, and I think the the guys in Opera wanted to make it into CSS. So they have proposed something called a viewport. The app viewport rule. So here the width, device width, this is the same, exactly same things as this meta viewport. And currently it's only supported by Presto-based Opera and IE10. So again, it's kind of like a regulation. So now, Opera uses different rendering engines. So this no longer works. Plus, another bug I found, and I reported to the Microsoft guys, it's buggy in IE10. They have implemented wrong. It's device width in CSS value, but they return this value as a device pixel. That's wrong. So basically, sorry I confused you. I'm talking about this, but this is useless currently. Can't really use it. Buggy. But it's cool. It'll be really nice if we can use it because we can mix and match combined with media query. The media rules here. We can use just both nested. So it'll be really nice if we can use it. Oh, the cool stuff. Okay. So now, I've been talking about media query in CSS3, but we got new stuff, level 4, which we kind of call it CSS4. But W3C guys don't like it when I call it CSS4, so I still have to call it CSS level 4. But anyway, this is new stuff. And this hasn't been implemented in any browsers yet. But basically, now we get pointer that detects the accuracy of your input device. So if you know in coarse and fine, in the coarse, you can guess this is pretty much like touch screen. People operate dealing with fat finger thingy, right? This finger. And fine is a mouse or maybe stylus. Also, we can detect hover. It's a Boolean 0 or 1, so it has a hover or not. Because the touch screen doesn't have a hover, right? So this is how we can use. If hover exists, we'll just do something for the like menu hover on something. Oh, this is like a hex code I love. It's my favorite. Oh, this is super new. I just found out yesterday. Range. So this is how we've been writing media queries now. Min, height, whatever. I hate min and max. Why? Because I always don't know that means if 600 is included or not. So now we can use it. This is a proposal. Now we can use just greater than and equal sign. So we know exactly what we're talking about, right? That means 600 is included. This is super new. And I don't know if it's ever going to be in the actual specifications. It's just proposed like in a few days ago. I really would love to have this. Again, I hate min height, like min width, max. I don't like it, you know. And these are cool things. It's really cool things. Luminosity. So this is a new thing. Again, this is super new. No browser have implemented. Basically what it is device has a light sensor. Well, I don't say all devices. Many devices have light sensors. So depends on the user's environment. It detects light level. Let's say this is room, like indoor at nighttime, kind of dark. Or when you're on outside in daylight, it always knows. So this CSS, what it basically does is when by default you get gray background and black text, when you're in a dark room, make the background color dark and give it a white text color. Or when you're in a lighter environment, make the background color just pure white and give some text color. You can't use this yet, but it's already available in JavaScript side. So it's called the Ambient light events. And this DOM event is already available in Firefox. So I wrote this demo. So it basically emulates my previous CSS sample with JavaScript here. So what I'm doing here is I'm in a room. It's a dark room. So in a dark room, I have a dark background here. And I'm going to turn the lights off. Oh, no, not off, on. So see what happens. Come on, is it working? Oh, yeah. 28 lux. Oh, that's not nice. And turn the lights on. And I'm going to turn the lights off again. This was 200 lux. Cool, right? And it's really working. And this is a Nexus 7 and using a Firefox browser. I tried this in a Firefox OS. I have a Telefonica's key-on phone. I expected it works because the Firefox is the only browser it supports now, but it didn't work on my Firefox phone. And I'm guessing that because it's a relatively low-end phone, so maybe the device doesn't come with a light sensor, but I'm not sure. You know, I'm a little bit worried about my power now. It's not charging. So again, this is written in JavaScript, and the CSS equivalent is not available yet, but it's coming. Okay, it's charging now. So another topic here. So I'm switching the subject. Responsive images. I would say this is one of the hottest topics in web development now. Oh, sorry. So responsive image use cases, there are 3 use cases, maybe more, but let's say we have 3 use cases currently. The resolution switching, and art direction, and DPR switching for high-res images, like for the Retina displays and such. I'm going to talk about those now. So this is a resolution switching, and one of the use cases we use for the responsive images. So we get basically the same images here, but it depends on the device. You might want to fit a different image dimensions. Maybe not just the device, just the window size or orientation as well. So just basically giving the image with different size. Now, art direction is basically the same idea, except instead of using just scale down photos or images, you just maybe crop off, or could be even totally different image. The basic idea is just try to match the layout that best fit to each device. And the DPR switching is about, again, this is for supporting Hi-DPI displays. Well, in a Retina displays, you probably want to give the higher resolution image instead. So again, this is really ongoing issue. We've been discussing a lot about this because we are handling those use cases in our own ways, currently, but it's always have some issues. So this is like a commonly used way I can think of. It's like using media queries, right? That's something I've been talking about just now. So depends on the device size. Oh, I think I kind of mess up with having device and just the width here. I have to fix this. But anyways, so basically this is for tablet, or this is for the larger screen, and using different images. It's one thing people, what we can do now. And it's, okay, it's easy enough. Cool, we like media queries, right? So, but the problem is always, the breakpoint. So I was talking, I kind of messed up, this code is wrong, but breakpoint is those numbers, right? How we figure it out? Currently what we do is we have to just get the statistics of popular devices and try to just figure out which numbers to use. But this is really awkward. It's really no easy way to do. So many times we just guess, or just use whatever copy paste from maybe somebody else's site. Try to come up with most popular numbers to use. It's really not easy task. Not as no good way to find out. And using the background in a CSS for the image, it's not semantic, because this time the image can be a part of content, not just the presentation. It's the content, so it's not quite semantic using the background image. And this is, some browsers download all assets. So again, when you're talking about, like, let's say a tablet or like a larger screen, we need only one of those images. We don't need both. But some browsers download both anyway. It's a wasting bandwidth. So this is actually a test. There's a test done by Tim Catlett, and it's really have a nice test result in his blog page. So you should check that out, really. If you're not using media query to take care of this, the resolution switching, you can of course use a different way, like a fluid resizing. Well, basically, this is just using the image, one image, no media query, just handle with CSS. In this case, it's just always stretched to 100% or shrunk, whatever. It depends. And height auto. To do this, you need to probably get relatively large photos, because when the photo is stretched out, quality gets lost and it doesn't look pretty. So pro and cons. Pros, only one asset. You don't have to provide a bunch of assets. Easy to implement, and you never have to worry about breakpoints and hassle. But resizing, having browser to resize images, the CPU intensive. And then, now I think the browser handles resizing image bicubically. So I think the image doesn't get lost. It doesn't get pixelated or get a nasty artifact. We used to use some weird CSS hack to force it to bicubic and all the IE and such, but we don't have to worry about it now. But still, it causes in the browser to recalculate and reflow. So it's really the CPU intensive operation. And wasting bandwidth, well, it's not that much wasting compared to downloading a whole bunch of assets, but still, you probably started up with large image. Even when you have, like, let's say, 1,000 pixel width, but it shrunk to a mobile phone, which you only need 320 pixels. So, you really don't want to have huge image for mobile users, so that's wasting bandwidth as well. And some tricks you can use for art direction in this case. When I say art direction, because this is a sushi image used for wider browser. For mobile, you just crop it off here using only the center part of this image. You can do this with a media queries I was talking about earlier, or you can just use the CSS clip. This is nothing new. CSS clip is actually coming from CSS 2.1. And you have to just use, well, you need a wrapper in this case because it has to be positioned absolute to be able to use a clip. But I don't like this syntax. It's really annoying. Because anyway, you have to probably open up your image with Photoshop or something to get those numbers here. Because you need all those figures, I mean, the pixel values for here to specify where you want to clip. It's kind of annoying. So great, thanks. It's one asset. But we don't like it because the CSS clip is annoying. And again, the same issue, using a huge image, but using only the central part. Not so great. And another use case is high resolution pictures, right? So actually, this is what happened when you're using a low resolution image for the browser, or I would say a device which has a device pixel ratio of 2. So you might not see it on this projector screen, but basically this first image here looks kind of fuzzy, not so nice. But the second one is actually a larger image, which is twice as large, but area-wise it's 4 times as much. And that looks decent. So currently, when you want to do this for Retina displays and such, this is how we take care. Same type of deal you use in media queries by using device pixel ratio 2 and mean resolution that I was talking about earlier to handle this image. So you get, by default, you have a banner in normal size, but when you have a Retina display, you need a bigger picture, but you have to set background size to 100% to be able to fit in the size. Again, yay, meh. So it's simple enough, sort of, maybe not, but you don't need any other scripts, JavaScript, server-side, anything. You can just take care right there on CSS. It's cool. I mean, media query is pretty cool. Oh, but another thing is, okay, the browser-dependent media query means, I was talking about those resolution might not be supported or have to have vendor prefix, blah, blah, blah. It's really cumbersome. Have a lot of things to do. And same thing, it's not semantic to use background for the content. And another thing, same thing, some browsers download all assets. Most of recent browsers don't. They just download only the one needed. That's good, but like Android browsers and such, they try to download everything. This is new. So, we have something called image set. So this is the image set is a new solution proposed by Apple for CSS level 4. And now it's the Google supports this idea too. So now the browser, the support is getting bigger and bigger. It's not just the Safari, those Blink guys supports too. So here's just a CSS background image. This is default. But you can also add the set of images here. 1x, 2x, you can guess what it means, of course. 2x means when a device has a high DPI, like a Retina display, use high-res image. That's how it works. And this is still ongoing, and the specification changing like daily, whatever. It's just probably this is already outdated. I might be wrong. Maybe we no longer need this URL, but I might be wrong. It's changing all the time, so you have to check the specification. So it's unstable to use, to be honest. It's great because less hassle syntax on the media query I showed earlier, right? This is simpler. But the thing is, there are not many browsers supported yet, and the specification is unstable. And again, it's not semantic. It's still in the background image. Okay, so if you can use a vector image scale nicely, so you don't have to worry about this. This is SVG. You can just resize whatever you want without losing any quality. It's pretty cool. So if you can use SVG, that's another way. It's a great browser support. And web font is another popular techniques you use, maybe you're already using. So if you only need some simple pictograms and single color, this is where to go. You should definitely use the font icons. You can just scale any size you want. It looks pretty. Maybe implementation is not so pretty currently, but it's still, the vector base is really awesome. So besides vector, going back to the original topic about supporting responsive images, their solutions sort of, the methods we are currently using. So JavaScript is another thing. Of course, I was talking about match media method earlier. That's a standard way to do. Modify the JS or other third-party, libraries out there. And the polyfills, I'm going to talk about what polyfill it is later, but basically it's a polyfill of a picture element. And the picture fill JS is awesome. And now I have an X picture. It's a polymer. It's funny, actually. I don't know if you're already familiar with web components. That's another really new, cool, HTML5 things. So X picture is web component based. You can basically just define your element and component, create like UI component by yourself. So Polymer.js is actually a polyfill of web component. So this is kind of weird. Polyfill of a polyfill. Using the polyfill, what? Oh gosh, I confused myself. It's a polyfill, but using some new web standard that requires polyfill. So it's kind of complicated, but it's cool. Polymer is cool. Another thing is server-side solution. What is it? Server-side content negotiations using something called adaptive image. It's commercially available services. And I think it's PHP-based. And Essential.io is another awesome thing you can use. I think it's a cloud-based. And other things you can do. Not so the standard technique, but it's nice hacks like clown car technique. The clown car is really strange, actually, but it really works nicely. And this was basically using media query inside of SVG. So it's really hacky. And I say SVG, but you use a raster image within it. And this was created by Estelle Whale. And she had spoken in this meetup before too. And she's sometimes in here, so, attending this meetup too. So I think many of you already know her. It's really interesting and technique. You should look it up. And I think she called it the clown car because you just put all the images stuff into the single SVG file. So it's an interesting concept. But we're talking about image. We want image, like element image. How about using actual responsive image, like image element, like semantic image? So obviously, image, it's been available in HTML. Like as long as we know, it's old stuff. And this was meant to be made for the responsive design. But we really need a solution now. We need a standard solution to have responsive image using semantically using the image element or field. So now we get more than one solutions proposed by different browser vendors or different interest individuals. srcset attribute. So this is proposed by Apple and adopted by WG. And I think you remember I showed the image set before in the CSS, right? This is really similar to image set in CSS. They basically got the idea from image set and adapted in the image tag here. So you know alt and source already, but this is what is new. It has a new srcset attributes. So you can define different pictures and then images you want to use. It depends on, so this is a condition here. So 2x, that's Retina, right? And 100 pics, 100 W means the maximum of the 100 pixel, the 100 CSS pixel in this case. And this has been experimentally implemented in WebKit nightly already. But then, of course, we have a lot of drama about, what we should do with responsive images. So that's a whole new idea. This was proposed by Responsive Image Community Group. This is a part of W3C group, but it's a community group. This is browser vendor independent. Anyone can join. I'm a member too. So this is a whole new proposal using a picture element. Instead of using just image, we just don't want to bother with the stuff we already have, so just whole new the picture element here. So this looks totally different from this, image using attribute. It has more like a nested tags there because the whole idea, this markup patterns adapted from video and audio. So I think you already are sort of familiar with HTML5 videos, right? So that's sort of similar. You get each source here. It's source from the image source there. And you define, so I forgot to mention. So the cool thing about it is you can still use media query. You don't have to rely on some whole new syntax, some weird things like, here. So what's that? 100W, 2S, what's that? Some people don't like it. I don't. So we already use media query. Why not in a markup too, right? So this is the idea, using media query in a markup. And you take care of the fallbacks and accessible text as well. So I totally support this idea. And again, earlier I mentioned the polyfills, picturefill.js and polymer-based Xpicture. It's a polyfill of this actually. So currently no browser have implemented this. So those polyfill basically mimic this. So you can use it with that. That's a whole new thing. Okay, this is not about markup. This client hint is proposed by Google. So it's basically a request header, right? It's HTTP request header. And the server uses this client hint, CH client hint, DPR 2.0 here. So the server uses this client hint to assist content negotiations here. So it automatically picks the right, the assets and contents, which version of images and such. And then it's not like a traditional user agent sniffing. It doesn't require any third-party database like Warful and such. And apparently, this already has been implemented in the latest Chromium build, but you still have to use enable. You have to use some flag to enable this feature. I haven't used this yet personally, so don't ask me any questions. And I'm hoping to hear about this next week at Google, because Google has Chrome Dev Summit. So I'm hoping to hear about this. I don't know if they're gonna, but I'm hoping. So, okay, so I talked about all sort of important things and all cool new web standards, emerging web standards. But what's next? So we don't know, really. We have so many features here. And now we get smart TV. I don't browse web on TV because user experience is awful. And I don't want to use, the clicker to browse web. It's like so 90s, but still. So smart TV has a lot of, those guys has a lot of homework to do. Have to solve those user interface, the user experience, and then have to provide a better experience for this. But if it's ever be available, and if your people, your viewer, your people, people browsing your web page on TV, then you really have to care about responsive, let's say responsive text. I didn't mention anything about responsive text. It's nothing new, but basically, when you're watching TV, you sit in a couch. It's not like using mobile phone right here or a desktop computer. A distance between your viewer, your user, and the browser is probably far away. So you probably have to reconsider the text size or margin or maybe line height and all those, what the people call it, like responsive text. So you might want to adjust the text size and whatsoever. So it's about all like user experience issues more than technology itself. Automotive. Believe it or not, there are a proposal for standardizing HTML5 and based Pico APIs. Browsing the web while driving. Sounds awful idea. But again, this is a user experience issue. I believe this is going to be more like voice activated or something different. And maybe services more depend on geolocations and such. I think it's going to be really different type of interaction. I have no idea. I live in San Francisco. I don't even drive a car. But this is probably next things you might want to care, you might want to worry about. It's a lot of interesting things going on with those guys. Wearables. I think I saw somebody wearing glasses. So Google Glass, I believe it comes with browser now. It's a tiny little browser, but I heard it has device pixel ratio of 2, or maybe 1.5. Yeah, it's 1.5. So now wearable device even come with browser. And other wearable things like Pebbles, right? Or Fitbit. I don't wear my Fitbit today because mine's broken now, but that's another popular wearable devices these days. And currently, those wearables don't come with browsers. But you never know. Something like a Pebble smartwatch, you never know. So maybe sooner or later, you might have to worry about it. And Internet of Things, IoT, it's another big thing. This is like one of the hottest things in industry now, right? So like Nest, that's a smart thermometer. And you're going to have smart whatever. Sooner or later, you're going to see smart like anything. And then again, currently, like Nest and stuff, it's not about browser. It's not about what you worried now. But you don't know. I don't know, really. So, as a web developer, I would say you always have to have research, keep eye on anything new, and you never know what's going to come next. So thank you so much. And this is like everything. I know it's really long. I don't know how long I've been talking. Oh my gosh, it's long. And I have my slides available on my GitHub. And I have a speaker deck too, but I think the one slide and speaker deck is outdated. And in case you didn't get enough cat picture, HTTP stands for Neue too. Okay,